The Kiwis have flown back to Dubai after successfully defeating South Africa, whereas India stay in Dubai after conquering the team from down under. Now, does India have an advantage against the Kiwis? Will India be ready to clip the Kiwis' wings and lift an ODI trophy after 12 long years? I am Aaryaman, your host as usual, and this is what we're going to be talking about today in the Aaryaman Show. Form, amongst other things, may be temporary, but two things which are permanent is one, India losing the toss, and two, Kohli tailoring a beautiful run chase. Of course, with the help of Shreyas Iyer, and that is exactly how India won the semi-final against Australia. Before I head out and talk about how India might be going ahead for the finals, how New Zealand might be going ahead for the finals, what small changes could they be making? Let me just talk about both the semi-finals for a very brief moment. Starting out, India played their first semi-final in Dubai only 48 hours after their match against New Zealand in Dubai. And so India had very less time to prepare for Australia. And even Australia were not in the best position because after playing on such flat pitches in Pakistan, they had come to Dubai where the pitches were slow. Even though it was a fresh pitch which allowed them to make a few runs, the pitch at the end of the day was slow and difficult for batting. On top of that, Australia did not have a very experienced bowling lineup, whereas India did. Australia had really not thought out of how they would face India if they did in Dubai, where spin is of more importance than pace. And that is a mistake that a lot of teams had made. They did not have a lot of spinners, so did Australia. So when Matthew Short was injured, Australia had an opportunity to bring in a couple of spinners, and that they did. But even so, like I said, they had a very inexperienced bowling lineup. Now, India going into the match lost their 14th coin toss in a row, the odds of which are extraordinary. The odds, to be precise, are 0.000061. That just shows how rare and how abnormal it is that Rohit Sharma has lost the 14th toss in a row. Now, Australia, winning the toss, chose to bat first because it was a fresh pitch and they thought they could make up some runs, put some good score on the board, and then force India to chase it down, put pressure on them, and eventually choke them. Now, Australia did what they planned for a good amount of time. While O'Connelly was very uncomfortable, Travis Head started out really well. But as always, it was Varun Chakravarti who got the breakthrough for India with his mystery spin. But then it was Manas Labuschagne and Steve Smith. While Manas Labuschagne did persist for a while, Steve Smith went on to score a magnificent 73. And then following a good 50 plus innings of Alex Carey and a few cameos here and there, Australia did manage to get to 264 despite India starting to pick up wickets a bit late but in time. Now obviously when you're chasing a 260 plus score on a Dubai pitch, it is never easy, and so India had expected that it would be their skipper Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill who would get India off to a good start, and in some ways they did. However, in spite of Rohit Sharma being given two lifelines, he was not able to use them to build up a good score and eventually got out at 28, whereas Shubman Gill got out for only 8 runs. And then the entire responsibility lied on two people, Shreyas Iyer and Virat Kohli, who did beautifully, who not only individually scored good runs, had a good innings, but the partnership they built was instrumental in India winning the game. And then you saw the finishing touches from Hardik Pandya and Akshar Patel and KL Rahul, who finished off the game with a 6. And so you could literally see how good India is with the bat in the middle order and the lower middle order, and exactly how deep the Indian batting lineup can go. And that is just how India's tournament has been. Their top order has not necessarily contributed a lot. The opening batsmen have been inconsistent. Shubman Gill did score a beautiful 100 against Bangladesh, but in the matches after that, he's not been very effective. Whereas for Rohit Sharma, he's not scored a single 50 run or more than 50 runs in any of these innings. But he's given India these small aggressive starts. But when you're talking about the final, this is not going to work. You're going to have to play a bit longer. You're going to have to play for more than those 10 overs, and you're going to have to build up a good innings and a good partnership with Shubman Gill to put pressure on your opposition, which the middle order has done very well. So India dominated Australia that day, even though with their inexperienced bowling lineup, Australia did drag the game very deep. India's middle order saved us one more time. And this shows yet again that we are not very appreciative of Shreyas Iyer, of KL Rahul. These two players have been in the shadows for a long time. Hardik Pandya has got his due. Hardik Pandya is talked about, and he is given the validation. He's acknowledged as a very good player. Whereas KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer, these are two of the most criticized players I see in the Indian lineup, and yet they are the two who have contributed so much and have literally won the games for India. So now when people talk as to why KL Rahul should be in the team, this is why. His keeping might not be as good as Rishabh Pant or maybe Sanju Samson even, but his batting abilities anywhere in the batting lineup, be it number 1, be it number 6, be it number 7, that is what distinguishes him from the rest of the two. And the way he soaks up the pressure, the way he plays his innings, and at the end of the day, like I said, wins us the game, is the exact type of player that we need. Almost a replica of Dhoni. Of course, not in terms of quality. There is a huge difference in quality, but in the way of how they both function, it is a replica. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, New Zealand faced South Africa, two teams which have always been called the underdog and two teams which have been called the chokers. And that is for a very good reason, because these two teams are one of the most unsuccessful teams when it comes to ICC knockout games. But New Zealand shined bright on that day. Rachin Ravindra 100 followed by a Kane Williamson 100 and two very good cameos from Daryl Mitchell and Glenn Phillips. That sealed New Zealand's fate as New Zealand scored 362. Now 362 is a massive mountain to climb, be it on any pitch, even if it is as flat as it was in Pakistan that day. And South Africa just could not meet the quality of the Kiwis. While the South Africans did try a lot, they did end up having a lot of dot balls and with a lot of notable players not performing. One of them being Heinrich Klaasen, a player who was so good that in the last year he almost grabbed the T20 World Cup title for South Africa. But this time is the exact opposite. He's not seen scoring runs, even if it is a very flat pitch, and that should be a very worrying concern for South Africa and Heinrich Klaasen. Now, David Miller came in and he scored 100 of 60 odd balls, but I think that was too little, too late. And probably if David Miller had been brought up before Heinrich Klaasen, the game could have changed, the tides could have turned, and maybe it would have been South Africa who would have won the game instead of New Zealand. Now that means India and New Zealand meet again in a week. They met last Sunday and they're meeting again today. Now let's talk about advantages, because this has been talked about a lot on social media and everywhere else. Does India have a very good advantage over New Zealand? Now there are, I think, a couple of aspects to it. One is travel wise and one is conditions wise. Now India haven't played in Dubai in a long time. So to say they have an advantage with the conditions, it would be only a joke. Whereas if you have to talk about time, travel and logistics and everything, yes, India do have an advantage there, but they would have the same advantage if they went to Pakistan, because at the end of the day, just like India had all of the matches in Dubai, India would have had all of the matches in Lahore as well. So if India have picked five spinners for Dubai, my it would have been very possible that India would have picked more pacers for Pakistan and they would not have to travel anywhere. So in terms of traveling and exhaustion, yes, India do had one advantage. But that advantage is almost nullified by the quality of the Kiwi batting and bowling lineup. Now, the Kiwis have been to Dubai once. They've played on that pitch. And the pitch that we're going to see today in the final is the same one which was used during the India Pakistan match. So, the Kiwis have a very good idea of how the conditions will be today. It will be kind of similar to how India played Kiwis. So Kiwis know how to go there. They have a certain plan. They know what they are going to face, how the Indian bowling lineup is going to be, and what all they can expect. So it is not really about advantages anymore. It is about quality versus quality. Who will be the better team today? Now going into today's match, I doubt there will be any changes. There could be one change, which I think is probably bringing in Devon Conway instead of Will Young. Now, Will Young, he did score 100, yes, but he hasn't scored many runs after that. So that might just be a small concern for the Kiwis, and considering that it is a final, they might want some more firepower on the top. And that is why they could bring in Devon Conway. And now Kiwis, they already have their spinners. Mitchell Santner is their base spinner. He's the primary spinner and the captain. And then they have those part-time spinners you get with Michael Bresswell and Rachin Ravindra and Glenn Phillips. So Kiwis do have a good enough spin attack to just choke India that little bit. Whereas India undeniably will be going in with the same 11 that has proved to be very successful for them in the last couple of matches. So don't really see a lot of changes happening. The only change that could happen is probably Devon Conway coming in for Will Young, but that's it. Now let's just talk about pressure and knockouts. India and New Zealand for very long time kind of have been on a similar boat. Since 2013, India has been very unsuccessful in knockout games in ICC events. Similarly, for New Zealand, they haven't won a single white ball ODI championship since 2000 when they last won the Champions Trophy. So the Kiwis will definitely be up for winning another white ball championship this year. India in the last couple of years have played 3 white ball finals, the 23 World Cup final, the 24 T20 World Cup final which they won, and now it is the Champions Trophy final. And if we have to delve into red ball cricket as well for just a minute, India have played 2 WTC finals against which they played one against New Zealand, which New Zealand won. So New Zealand have kind of an upper edge over India in terms of mentality, I can say, because New Zealand have defeated India in knockouts, especially that 2019 World Cup semi-final, which hurt India very bad and which subsequently caused MS Dhoni to retire. So New Zealand do have an upper edge over India. But India, having just won a T20 World Cup just a few months back, they kind of know how to soak in that pressure now. A problem which the Indians have faced for a long time, but we saw what the Indians were capable of once they soaked in pressure and kept a clear mind. We saw that even when India needed to defend 30 runs in 30 balls, they did still win against South Africa. Now, New Zealand might not choke as South Africa did, but India have a better understanding of how to play the game with a clear mind now and what strategies to apply when there is pressure on them. And we have seen that in this tournament as well, especially in batting. And not just batting, we've also seen Indian bowlers soak up pressure when For the first couple of games, we saw that between overs 10 to 30, there were no wickets falling, and the pressure was entirely on the Indian bowling lineup. They struck, and they got wickets when it was necessary. And just when the games were almost about to turn, when the batsmen were settled in and they were ready to hit those shots, Indian bowlers struck. So we know even if there will be 10 or 15 overs of no wickets and almost no runs as well, Indian bowlers will still be on top of the Kiwi batsmen. So what does this mean? This means it will be a very, very well poised final between these two sides. It will be a very excellent watch. It will be a very entertaining one as well. After all, these two teams are very similar with the heavy use of all-rounders to the explosive batting lineup that they have and two core players, Virat Kohli for India and Kane Williamson for New Zealand. For Kane Williamson, this could be his last ODI match. This could be his last ODI ICC tournament as well. So he would be wanting to win this one to get glory and get the trophy back to New Zealand. Whereas for Kohli, he would be longing to get hold of this Champions Trophy. Because even if the 2023 World Cup might have been unsuccessful, at least he would have won another ODI ICC tournament after 12 long years. And if we are to talk about bowling lineup, again, very similar. Now, Matt Henry's inclusion in this starting 11 is still a question. There have been no updates about that. But the use of spinners on either side, and for New Zealand, it is two pacers, but for India, again, it is one pacer and one all-rounder, Hardik Pandya. Now, talking about my prediction for today's game, I still feel it will be India who at the end of the day hold the trophy. And even though I've said all sort of things about how similar these two teams are, India have shown in this tournament that they can play the pressure. Because pressure is the biggest enemy of today. If you can't handle the pressure, you're going to lose. And so India have shown with their various chases throughout this tournament, then they can keep themselves cool. They can calm their nerves down and they can chase. Now, what would India do if India win the toss? I don't think India is going to win the toss today as well. So India would be very comfortable either batting first or chasing because they've done both very, very well. And if in a coincidence India does win the toss, it will be a very tricky decision to take for Rohit Sharma because what will he do? Will he go to bat first and put runs on the board or will he chase? Tell me what you think about that in the comments below. I think if India do win the toss, they would probably be hoping to put runs on board if this pitch is as they say, even if it is a bit slow, and if India start off really well and they can put anywhere between 260 and 270 today in the first innings, the game will be India's. So let me know what you think. Let me know how this game will go according to you. And for now, that's it. Thank you for watching this video. Do like, share, subscribe. Do watch the rest of my videos. Let me know how you feel they are. And I'll see you after the finals. Bye.